and so they were given limited autonomy on the battlefield. They were expected to avoid melee engagements, and orders were sent by bugle, which was more mobile and carried farther than the drum or fife. The standard weapon given to these battalions was the Brown Bess musket. The Brown Bess was a smooth-bore musket that could fire a 75 caliber ball up to 230 meters, but was most accurate between 45 and 90 meters. The official name of the version seen in North America was a short land musket India pattern. Although the introduction of the Baker rifle happened during this time, it saw no use till the Battle of New Orleans after the end of the war, but we will get to that later. This was most likely due to the fact they were more expensive to make and so were not given to garrison troops. Due to the unique way these troops fought, they were given separate missions from the commanders and the rest of the battalion, such as reconnaissance, disrupting supplies, or taking an outpost, leaving the battalion with only 8 companies of line infantry. In late 1813, 2 battalions of Royal Marines joined the fray in Canada. These battalions comprised of personnel whose primary role was to serve in ships. Each battalion had an artillery company using concave rockets, a hollow iron container loaded with shells, rounds, or musket balls, launched from wooden frames propelled by gunpowder, and could be fired more than 3 kilometers. These were immortalized in the American national anthem, with the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting in air, that proof through the night that our flag was still there. But we'll also get to that later, when we talk about the siege of Fort McHenry. And finally, the militias and irregulars. Both the British and Americans raised militia in their territories, though on the British side they had what were called fencibles, which were locally recruited men who were led by British officers and NCOs. And so they acted as a halfway point between line infantry and militia. This practice was used in both Upper and Lower Canada. On both sides, the militia provided a source of manpower for the more regular units. In the British Army, there was also what was called the selected body militia in Upper Canada and the sedentary militia in Lower Canada. This was made up of half and half volunteers and conscripts from the age of 16 to 60 during 1812 and 13. Moving on to the artillery. The artillery was organized by function and, like the infantry, was used in administrational format. The types of artillery used was field, siege, garrison, and horse artillery. Field artillery supported the infantry and cavalry in the battlefield and was organized by numbered battalions, each of which had up to 10 companies, which was responsible for 6 guns in their battery, under the command of a captain. These were 6 to 9 pounder guns, referring to the weight of the solid spherical round they fired. The 6-pounder had the maximum range of 1,830 meters. The gun was worked by a detachment of 3 men and assisted by anywhere from 5 to 12 other men. The cannon battery was normally supported by 2 howitzers, which were short-barreled pieces with a wide bore that fired explosive shells and other projectiles on a higher trajectory. The battery had 145 officers and men, some 100 drivers, those who moved the guns, 200 horses, and several wagons to carry the ammunition, powder, and other supplies to fire the guns. Moving on to the cavalry. The cavalry was organized in regiments, in 10 troops of 100 cavalrymen. There were only 2 regiments of British cavalry, later on 3, then there were 2 American ones. The reason why there were so few regiments of cavalry was that North America was still heavily forested at the time, and so cavalry could not fulfill its traditional role of charging down the enemy, and so it was used as highly mobile infantry and reconnaissance. They also performed small raids on supply depots. The cavalry units on both sides were called Dragoons. These were mounted infantry, normally armed with sabers, pistols, and shortened muskets called carbines.
Because it's flexing with the bayonet and the musket for the final part of the battle. You could literally see your enemies by their eyes or their mascara.
Make ready. Take aim. Elevate. Fire. Priming position after fire.
Down. While they are loading, the mounted would come right up like I am now, right at you. At the last moment, we turn to the left. We would fire our pistols, or if we had fired our pistols, we'd draw our steel and come into you with the blade. All that takes place in 5 to 6 seconds. You can count to 5. That's how long you have to live from the time they fired until I'm in on you. And it's either you or me. And at that point, it's like a good old-fashioned bar fight at a college campus. Everybody's a victim. There is no one that's left behind.